Alright team, let's start the code review for the new user preferences feature that Anna and Tom have been working on. Anna, can you walk us through the backend changes first?
Sure, John. For the backend, I've added a new API endpoint to handle user preferences. The preferences are stored in a new table in the database, and I've ensured that the data is encrypted. There's also logic to update the preferences in real time whenever a user makes changes on the front end.
Nice. I see that you've included unit tests. How about performance? Did you test how this will scale with more users?
Yes, I ran performance tests. The API can handle up to 10,000 concurrent users with minimal latency. And if we need to scale further, we can add caching or use a distributed database.
Anna, have you tested how the preferences behave under edge cases, like a user logging out midway through updating their settings?
Yes, I've handled those cases. If a user session ends before the update is complete, the changes are rolled back to ensure data consistency.
Good to hear it. And how about the front end, Tom? Can you explain the changes you've made?
Sure. The dashboard is now fully responsive and I've integrated it with Anna's API, so users can modify their preferences and save them in real time. I've also added error handling for cases where the API fails to respond.
Sounds good, Tom. I noticed that you're using React hooks for state management. How's that working out for handling real-time updates?
It's working well. I'm using UseEffect to listen for changes, and we're only re-rendering the components that need updating, so the performance remains smooth even with frequent changes.
I reviewed the deployment script, and everything looks in order. Tom, did you test how the front end performs under different network conditions?
Yes, I used Lighthouse to simulate slower networks. The dashboard performs well, but we might want to add lazy loading for certain sections to improve the initial load time on slower connections.
Good call. Lazy loading could definitely help optimize the performance further. Raj, have you tested the integration between the front end and back end?
Yes. I've been testing the integration in the staging environment. Everything works as expected. I ran both functional and regression tests to ensure that existing features weren't broken by the new changes.
That's great to hear. Any bugs or issues we need to address before we move to production?
Nothing major, just a minor UI issue where the save button that sometimes appears disabled when it shouldn't. Tom, I'll send you the details so you can take a look.
All right, Raj. I'll fix that today.
I've set up monitoring for the new feature and added alerts for any performance degradation. We're ready to deploy once the final fixes are in place.
Alright team, let's aim to fix that UI issue and deploy by the end of the day. And great work everyone! Once this goes live, we'll gather user feedback to see if there are any further improvements needed.
I'll be on standby during the deployment to ensure everything runs smoothly.
Same here. I'll fix the UI issue and test it again in staging.
I'll rerun the tests after the fix to make sure everything is ready for production.
Perfect. Thanks for the effort everyone. Let's make sure we stick to the timeline and have a smooth deployment.